Hi, this is the man from Modesto. Over the last several years, I've really scoured the internet looking for prophecies, and people have handed me prophecies and shared their dreams with me. And I always like to read those things. And what I've found is that there are a few really good ones and things that obviously are very powerful. And I've saved those, and I want to read one of these. It's very important, especially if you are a pastor. You need to listen to this. I'm going to post the full text over here if I can. It was 2:30 a.m. and I couldn't sleep, so I decided to go downstairs to my office and see if I could write an article on some things that had been on my mind. My mind, however, just drew a blank, so I decided to lie for a while on the couch in the office. It was then that I began to hear from the voice I know so well. But before sharing this with you, I should warn you that most of it might sound like an overactive imagination of one who stays on top of current events around the world. In fact, God and I have had a serious conversation if I should say this was a vision. But God has clearly instructed me to tell others what I have seen. So here it is, you are the judge. This is from a man named Jerry Golden, and he has a website called thegoldenreport.com. I'm not sure right now, but I'll put it over here. Now, this is titled A Vision in the Office, and you can easily Google it if you can't find anything over here on your right. God spoke to me and said, I have found your heart and efforts pleasing, but you still have much to learn, and I will teach you many things about my church. The time is very near when panic and chaos will grip the hearts of men, and many will die from the fear of what they are seeing. The things you are about to see are for you to tell those who will listen. I hope you will listen. This is dated June 1st, 2004. It was a mall, where I am not sure, but there were dead and wounded bodies scattered over a large area. And as soon as I saw this, I was in a different place, looking down on a large gathering of a sporting event. Many were already dead, and others were gasping for their breath and dying, even as I looked at them. One man spoke to me, saying, they have already destroyed our economy by cutting off the oil. Now they want to kill all of us. I thought I'd keep seeing this type of disaster, but to my surprise, I found myself in a church. Judging from the interior and the looks and sounds, I thought it must be a Baptist church. As I sit there in the presence of God, unable to speak, I heard the pastor give a short, glib, standard salvation message, and I watched the people who were frightened and unable to understand why all of this was happening to them. Many were destitute, without food, and no way to purchase any. One man interrupted the pastor and said, why haven't you prepared us? Why haven't you warned us? The pastor begins to cry, and the people got up and left him standing behind the pulpit. It was then I noticed an amazing thing. The pastor fell to the floor, and he was dead. Then we were in a city center, and I watched as people were looting and screaming obscenities at each other. Some were shooting and arm robbing the ones that had just stolen the goods from the store just moments before. I looked at the bank, and it was closed, and people were trying to get in, but the doors were blocked. There were military troops on the streets of the larger cities, and they were shooting people with impunity. No one could believe what was happening. As they ran almost aimlessly in pure panic, we followed one man to his home. He greeted his wife and two small children, saying, I didn't do any good, and I don't know what we are going to do now. He sits and turned on the TV, and the news about Israel was on. Israel was under heavy attack, and they had already destroyed Damascus. It was believed that many missiles were on the way from Iran. Egypt had launched a full-scale attack, and it was feared that Syria had launched missiles with chemical and biological warheads. I turned to God and said, you promised that Israel would not be destroyed again. But he reminded me that it wasn't the end of the story, and to wait and see his word come to pass. Looking back at the TV, it showed how suicide bombers had killed many all over the country, and everyone was frightened to the point of not knowing where to turn for help. It was then God showed me believers who had bonded together and had a pastor who had prepared them. Their love for each other was obvious, and many were coming to them for help. But even more important, many were being drawn to them as their love was a witness for Yeshua. I asked God why more pastors hasn't prepared the believers. And he told me that they have been desensitized by Y2K and felt they couldn't tell them to prepare again. But those pastors who knew to prepare their congregations and did not will wish they had never knew me. I will tell them I never knew them. So this is what God is telling him in the vision. Those pastors who knew to prepare their congregations but did not prepare them, they will wish they never knew me. I will tell them I never knew them. It was then God said to me, only those who truly know me would overcome and witness my great salvation. For all temporal things will perish, but those born of the Spirit will see eternal life. I then asked God, what would he have me to do? God told me then that I was to continue on the task set before me and not to look back, that many would be saved. In division, like I said, you be the judge. Shalom, Jerry Golden. So Jerry Golden is in Israel. That's where he lives. And again, his site, Jerry Golden, the Golden Report. I'll put a link over here, and you can look at that. The end is apparently very close. And if you look at my story about the Spartans, I have a video on that. That's prophecy that the Lord showed me. The Greeks, they were attacked sooner than they expected. They knew it was coming, but it happened sooner than they expected, and that's why they had to sacrifice a king. But that's another video. This is the man from Modesto saying, pray or be defeated. Pastors, prepare your people. Prepare your people. Seek God on exactly how your people need to be prepared. And may God bless you for all of your efforts. May he reward you greatly for serving him and feeding his sheep and preparing his sheep as you should, as you ought.